Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. Today I am doing something a little bit differently. I am not talking VSG. I mean, not the entire episode this time, but I am going to be sharing with you today a little bit about my struggle with anxiety and depression and my road to recovery. So let's get into it. So if you are returning, welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you are joining me again. If you are new, welcome to my channel. Just a quick introduction. My name is Marquilla. I am a mom, a wife, a photographer, and a personal blogger. I reside here in the Windy City, Chicago. Just so you know a little bit about the content that I share on my page, it is mostly around my weight loss journey. I had weight loss surgery, specifically sleeve gastrectomy back in October of 2021. I am almost 4 months post-op. So most of my content is around that journey, but I'm also sharing stuff around my life and as well as mental health and wellness. Health in general, not mental health specifically, but health and wellness. So I'm still very new to YouTube, so over time more content will come out. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and like I said, new videos every week. And if you have any questions regarding weight loss or anything that is discussed in this video, please leave them in the comments. Also, any positive comments are welcome as well. And you can share this with your family and friends on any platform as well. So today, I'm just going to be discussing more about my struggles with anxiety and depression leading up to my surgery and after, as well as my road to recovery. I've been sharing a lot in my previous videos where I say weight loss, this journey through my weight loss surgery isn't just about weight loss, but it is just like a total healing journey. And I kind of started my journey a year prior to my weight loss surgery. But then having a weight loss surgery has added to that journey and has helped in my road to recovery. So I'm so glad to be sharing this. I feel like it's like the perfect time to talk about this, considering what's going on in the world. You know, if anyone has been following the actress Regina King, her son, he recently committed suicide. And then the 2019 Miss America, I could be wrong, but Chesley Chris, she also, we recently lost her as well to suicide. Just a trigger warning. I will be talking or discussing around suicide, anxiety, depression, and sexual abuse. Not anything detailed. I will not share anything like that, but I just wanted to share that as a trigger warning, as these topics may be triggering to some people. So if that is you, if this is too hard for you, I would just say, you know, you might not want to listen. But if you can, then I would love for you to stay along and listen to this. You can fast forward through some parts as well. Another disclaimer, I am not a medical professional, a psychologist, or an expert. So if you have any questions around this topic, I'm more than happy to answer any questions relating to my own personal experience. But if you have any questions around this, please reach out to a medical professional, a psychologist, or expert with your questions. If you or anyone you know is struggling with depression, specifically suicide ideation, please know that you can call the suicide hotline, and that's 1-800-273-8255. And I will also put that in my notes because I just want you to know that you are not alone. Okay, so let's get right into it. So this is a very touchy subject for me, but one of the things that I don't want to say push myself to, but I'm just breaking out of my shell, and it is healing, and it also is helpful to share my experiences as it can help others. I've heard so many stories from other people talk about their experience around depression and other things that I feel like I can relate to, that certainly has helped me. And so I'm hoping that what I'm sharing with you today in regards to my personal experience, it is helpful. So I will occasionally be looking over. I have notes, so if you see me look over, that's what I'm looking at. So I just wanted to talk about my history with experiencing both depression and anxiety. So I have struggled with anxiety since I was a child. At a very young age, I would say about 4 years old, I was sexually abused. From that moment, I'm not sure when, but I think as a result of that, I had started to experience anxiety. What did that look like? For me, it was racing thoughts. Like I could literally run through like 20 to 30 things in my head in a matter of minutes. Just racing thoughts. I remember a lot of times just being super nervous about everything. Just like being real hyper about things. Like if I felt like I was in trouble or in danger, I felt really uncomfortable around certain people and around certain situations. I also, just very vigilant, like, like, oh my God, just panicky. And I think that's the best word to describe it, is just panicky. So a lot of times I experienced that, sweaty hands, my body would tense up, I would feel like I couldn't breathe, things like that. I would just, my heart would just leak like pounds. Another one is that I was not able to focus. So I had a lot of issues in school where I struggled with focusing because I would just wander off. That is like one of the other things about anxiety, is like you are an overthinker. So you'll think about so many things. So like that's like the main thing with me. As a kid, I would just overthink, and I would just like drift off and thinking about other things or events that took place, either during that day or before that day. So as a result, like I didn't have the best grades in school when I was younger because I couldn't focus. And then, I struggled like with like math or reading comprehension. I just couldn't grasp certain things, no matter how much somebody would sit and try to work with me with it or teach me, or it was just so many things. As I got older, I started to have panic attacks, and they were frequent. I remember like if something had happened to me, it would like linger in my mind, because that's one of the things with anxiety is like if something happened and you just can't kind of have control over, or like it's looming it's looming in your mind, looming in your thoughts, and you are constantly focusing on that, and it will kind of keep you in a state of panic. And so a lot of times as a result of that, I would have a panic attack. I wouldn't feel better until the issue was resolved, or like there was someone to be able to give me some sort of comfort about the situation. So I had panic attacks frequently. As I got older, I kind of learned how to control them. I would have like I call it that, a silent panic attack, and I would just kind of like hide it from people. But I would get like dizzy, lightheaded, breathe really hard, couldn't breathe. And sometimes I would just have to walk away, or I would like shake uncontrollably. And I don't think people were ever aware that was happening to me as a teenager and an adult. I don't think people ever noticed that, because no one ever came to me and say like, are you okay? Things like that. So I kind of learned how to mask it and control it a little bit, but it just never went anywhere. I convinced myself like it went somewhere, like I had control over it. I also suffer with insomnia. I can think of times like if someone did something to me, or if I had like a bad grade. This is even in my adulthood, like whatever would happen to that day that had an effect on me, I would carry that to bed. The thing about overthinking is quietness is like your enemy. I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but that is certainly the case for me. I say that in present tense because I still have challenges around anxiety to this day. I'm just more aware of my triggers, and I've learned how to sort of have more manage them as well. So, but yes, I remember ever since I was a kid, you know, if I didn't do a homework assignment or something was missing or something happened that day, or if I was being bullied, I would carry that till I went to bed. I mean, I was able to like focus on other things where I wouldn't think about it. Sometimes I would think about it all day, no matter what I tried to do. But when I went to bed, like it was in my head, and like I would be up. I would not be able to go to sleep at all. And a lot of times I wake up really tired the next day. And I can even remember as a kid, I used to do like these little mantras to try to help myself like not think about it, or like try to think like positive thoughts. And I can remember a church leader telling me to just think about like, you know, imagery. Like we have white noise and we can listen to sounds and things like that to help us go to bed. But when I was younger, I didn't have those things. So like thinking about pretty images or like happy memories is something that this person had told me to do, and it actually did work to some degree. But like when I had more serious situations, it was harder to do that. So I would say I can't remember exactly when, but I remember like as a teenager, and I don't know exactly what age, but that's when I started to experience depression. I was in a situation in high school. I know it was in high school, but I was in a situation where I was being bullied by a guy that I liked. And the bullying actually started before I started high school, but then when I went into high school, it continued. Being a victim of sexual abuse, you are not privy to certain situations. Everyone doesn't have that situational awareness, and you can be easily manipulated by people. It is very easy to be abused over and over again, and not always in the same way, but in other ways. And so I liked this guy, and so to me, you know, someone was paying attention to me, someone liked me, and so I thought that was a good thing. But little did I know what was the outcome. This person was it's like hard to talk about it, but this person was like verbally abusive. I found myself in sexual assault situations with this person that I did not look at it as that way. And what I mean by that is I was like, okay, I'm his girlfriend. I did have consensual sex with him at some point, so I felt like I was causing it to happen, or this was what was supposed to happen. And I wasn't, but I know, you know, deep down it wasn't right, but I didn't have the guidance or someone to say like, hey, no, that was abuse, or like, no, you didn't want to do that. That was against your will. So I found myself in situations like that with this person. This person made it their mission to harass me. We went to school together. We lived in the same neighborhood. So it was like, no matter where I went, that person was there. And so that didn't just include interactions with him, but he would also include other people in it. So mutual friends, more neighborhood kids, people that we went to school with, other, you know, our classmates. And so I know for the first 2 years of my high school was just me being bullied by this person and harassed, both in school and outside of school. There wasn't anyone that I can talk to about that. There wasn't anyone that pretty much believed me, because he would say things about me and no one really believed me. But that is when I first started to experience depression. And I can remember wanting to unalive myself, and I just felt like then people would probably believe me then. So that was like my first experience. I also was called fat. So that was throughout even my childhood. Like, I didn't look like the average girl at my age at the time. I was not fat, but I didn't look like the average girl. So in combination of what was happening here, I was also, considered fat. And I hated my body. I remember hating my body. I always got, oh, you're a pretty girl. You're a pretty girl. But I still had low self-esteem. I hated my body. I hated the attention that my body attracted. Like, I was attracting negative, and it wasn't anything that I was doing. I mean, it was my body, but it attracted negative attention. So a lot of times guys would approach me and they would automatically assume that it was okay for them to say or do certain things to me. So in a way, I just felt shameful about my body. I remember not wearing certain clothes, or not wanting to wear certain clothes. I didn't want to wear a swimsuit. For the longest, I never wore a swimsuit or didn't want to wear a swimsuit. I didn't want people to see my body. And I remember just wanting to be slim. So I tried to do things just to lose weight. I didn't know what I was doing, but that also affected me mentally as well. So I went through that, being harassed and bullied, dealing with like an abusive, manipulative situation, as well as dealing with, my body issues. There was nothing wrong with my body. It was just in my mind. And then later on in high school, I had a baby. So I had a baby young. So that was a whole nother set. So there was a number of things that happened in my teen years. And by the time I went into my dark years, I was just like detached. Because I just never had someone say like, man, you're going through this, you're going through this. And a lot of stuff I didn't talk about. And that did no good for my mental health overall. And so now I have a child, raising a child. I was a single mother. And if anyone knows what that is, that's a whole nother set of issues. I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't want to make this a super long video, but I just wanted to share what was going on in my life. So, moving along. One of my greatest memories that I can remember, having my daughter at a young age, she had to have been about 3 years old. And I can remember just, I was trying to go to college. I was in college. At this point, I was in college, and I was working a job part-time, and I was just trying to make ends meet. I did not have a lot of support. So the little support that I had, it was like I latched onto them because it was like, okay, if you leave, I don't have anyone else. But I remember that was like one of the darkest parts. I wouldn't say one of the darkest parts, but it was a dark period in my life because I was really struggling and I just couldn't keep up. And I just felt like I have someone depending on me and I can't help this person. I can't be there because the thing about being a single mom and trying to do everything is I wasn't there for my daughter when she was young. So she was in the hands of strangers. And I don't mean like people she didn't know. I mean, she was with a sitter, but they were strangers. They were not family. And so that really hurted me a lot because, like I said, I was a victim of sexual abuse. And so I was very like afraid, with, who am I leaving my child with? I always felt like you never know people. So it was very hard for me to have to do that. But I can remember I was driving home and I was crying. A lot of times I did that. I would come home and I would sit in my car and I would cry. And I remember this one particular time and I just prayed to God and I was just like, look, God, I just know this can't be it for me. Like I've not made the best decisions in my life, but I know that you don't hate me for that. I just know that this can't be it. And I literally just pleaded out to God, like, please help me. Like, help me get out of this situation. And he most certainly did. It took some time, but I got out of the situation. During this time, I was already dating my husband. He was still in college, so a lot of times I was staying with him, and he was that support when it came to someone, you know, caring for my daughter. So I'm very grateful for him for doing that. But we eventually got married, and he graduated college. We both ended up getting really good jobs, was doing really well. And then unexpectedly I was pregnant. Was not planned at all, but we had our challenges in our marriage in the beginning. And I know, like, you know, some people say like, oh, those first years are the hardest, and it's so true. We were still trying to adapt to our new life as a married couple, and with that added stress and me bringing in another child, it was just like overwhelming for me. And then the crash of 2009, when everyone was getting laid off their job. This is actually in 2009, sorry. Everyone was being laid off, and my husband was laid off, and eventually I was like demoted in my job position because of the cutbacks, and I ended up had our first son, and then we ended up pregnant again, and that was really hard because we were just trying to get by. And then found out our son had Down syndrome. So I know, I'm like, somebody's like, oh my God. Yeah. I'm sharing all this because I just feel like it's so important. But my son had Down syndrome, had a heart defect. And then when we had him, those were new set of challenges, just because we had to deal with, you know, the existing health conditions that he had going on, as well as figuring out as parents, how can we care for a child with special needs. I thank God for my son every day, because he was truly a blessing to us, and what we thought we were going to go through, we didn't go through. But it was challenging. We spent our lives in and out of the hospital, in and out of doctor's appointments. So like, we were both, at this point, I was already laid off. So going back to work was like, yes, we want to go back to work, but it was just like, how could we, you know, with everything that's going on. During this time is when I realized that I was experiencing postpartum depression. One, my life happened really fast within 2 years. And then two, we were still having challenges in our marriage. 3, we were not working. So it's just like, okay, how are we going to take care of ourselves financially with 3 kids? And then 4th, we're taking care of our son, who was having surgeries and doctor's appointments and health conditions, and we just couldn't quite grasp onto everything that was happening. So I had struggled with postpartum depression. I didn't feel connected to my son with special needs. I didn't feel connected to him. I tried to breastfeed him, and I couldn't breastfeed him because he couldn't latch on. That made me really sad. A lot of times he just, and I'm going to say it this way, and it's not disparaging my son, but I'm just saying it to give a descriptive of how I felt. I just felt like he wasn't a normal baby. That was what was in my mind. And what I mean by that, not because he had Down syndrome, but because he didn't, you know, babies, they were up, they were crying. He didn't do those things. Like, we had to wake him up to feed him. He didn't really interact with us much. So it was very hard, you know. This is my 3rd child, and I just feel like I couldn't connect with him because I couldn't understand what was going on. And so I was depressed, but I sucked it all in because I didn't have time to focus on me. I had to focus on my family, and I had to focus on him especially. And as time went on, because we went through this for years with him, it all came crashing down on me because I did not take that time to like seek help. Because I should have sought help. Like, what was happening to me, I needed to talk to someone to process, but that wasn't really available to me. And I started to get sick. I started to have problems with my body, and then that was a whole new set of issues. So I didn't have time to process those things. So that was pretty much what was going on in my life. As a result of those things and not being able to talk it out with someone, I just tried to stay busy. I just tried to do things. Because I was a stay-at-home mom to a certain point, then I worked a part-time job, but I still did mostly everything at home. So I just tried to stay busy, work, take care of the kids, play with the kids, do therapies, you know, for my son, all his therapies. And I just tried to stay busy. And that was my life, is being busy. I never liked to sit in the house. I would literally strap my kids up and leave. And so I needed to do that because quietness was the enemy. Because if I sat down and relaxed and chill, then my mind was racing, and then I had thoughts, and then I would panic. So it was better for me to do things. And it got to a point where it was affecting me health-wise. I was in pain. I could barely get up out of bed. I didn't have a lot of energy to play with my kids. And then I was crying all the time because I didn't know what was going on with my body. And I did reach out to doctors, but they didn't know what was going on with me. And it was so frustrating because a lot of times if you try to tell people and reach out to them and say like, hey, I need help, the follow-up was never, like, people say, I'm here for you, but the follow-up, there was no, like, they never came through. And that's not to shame people. That was the reality. So a lot of times I felt like I just had to suck it up and just get up and go. And I didn't have time to focus on me. And that didn't make things better. I just got sicker over time. And that was the onset of my health issues. Eventually I started to go to a therapist, and they tried their antidotes. I had started taking medications for my anxiety. I did physical therapy because a lot of my pain were back pain. So I started to do some things because I just couldn't function normally. But then I got pregnant again. And so I had to stop taking my medicine cold turkey. I couldn't keep up with physical therapy because I was working a full-time job at this point and I didn't have time for that. And that was a rough pregnancy. And so I had to go in go mode. I just want to say this too. What sucks is this idea that we as women are superheroes or superhuman. That sucks because I think a lot of people thought like I could handle it all. But people will say things, because we had multiple kids, people will say things like, oh my God, I don't know how you do it. And that just sucks because when you see someone in need, it's like, try to be a support. And I'm not trying to put the pressure on anybody, but I'm just being real because we all see things. There are certain things that we can't do when it comes to help, and that's fine. But like, do what you can. And it wasn't that I didn't ask for help. I did ask for help. But like I said, people will say, I'm here for you, but wouldn't be there for me. And I think that's how people looked at my situation, like, oh, she got it, they got it. And also people were like, well, she's married, she has a husband. And that also sucks because it's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean we don't need help. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just sucks. And that's what I'm going to say about that. It sucks because not only do people think like that, but then you'll be gaslit. And there was a lot of times I was gaslit about my health issues, and I was called a hypochondriac and things like that. Eventually, I found out that I have inflammatory disease, and a lot of the symptoms that I was experiencing wasn't something made up in my head. I was actually going through something. And the things that I was going through with my mental health did not make it any better. Those symptoms that I was feeling physically added to what I was feeling like mentally. And I had a breakdown. When my youngest son was about 4. I had a breakdown. And if anyone know me knows, like, I'm cooking, cleaning, I'm doing everything. But in this particular moment, I couldn't do any of that. I didn't have a desire to cook, clean, or anything. I literally just laid in the bed all day. I would go to work. I would get up and go to work, put all my energy into that, and come home and go to bed. I just really didn't have any tolerance for anything else. And I just physically just couldn't get up out of bed. My body was in pain, and I just felt so alone because I felt like no one understood me or understood what was going on with me. And I can remember just crying because, like I said, I did reach out to people. I didn't come out and say, like, I need help, but I reached out to people and I said, this is what's going on with me and I can't do this. And the response was not always what I needed to hear, or wasn't helpful, because a lot of times people say, like, oh, all you have to do is just pray, or you just have to get up and move around. You just have to push yourself. And I'm like, have you ever experienced a situation where you've tried all you can, but you feel like you just can't do it anymore? You can't breathe. You can't move. It was like no one could relate to that. And so my depression got worse. I had isolated myself. I stayed on my computer all day playing games. I isolated myself. I played games just to quiet my head. I didn't care how I look. Although, like, if I get up and go to work or go anywhere, I would put my makeup on. I would dress nicely. And people would just think, like, oh, she looks nice. She looks great. She's great. But the reality of it is I was drowning on the inside and isolated myself. I would remember just ignoring phone calls, ignoring texts. I would wear a mask. So, like, if I go to work, I would seem like I had it all together. I would smile, laugh, talk to people. And then as soon as I would get in my car to go home, I was just like, oh. And then I started to have the thoughts about suicide. Things had gotten so worse that I literally just couldn't see the light. I just couldn't see the light. And if you ever experienced that, you know what I'm talking about. It, like, nothing brought me joy. Being with my kids didn't bring me joy. Going out didn't bring me joy. You know, nothing brought me joy. You know, I ate my sorrows away. I laid in the bed all day. I stayed in my room all day. And I just felt worthless. And at that point is when I just said it would be better off for myself and for everyone if I wasn't here. I felt like I was a burden because I felt like my husband had to do everything. I was like, I would literally tell him, like, I can't do it today. I can't. And he just kind of filled in for me. You know, he cooks, he cleans. And so I just felt like I was a burden to him. I felt like I was a burden to other people. There were other issues going on. My home life wasn't happy. We had moved in a place, and normally I like to decorate. I didn't want to do any of that. So home didn't feel like home to me. I can remember a lot of times I wanted to just run away. I'm like, where am I going to go? But I remember wanting to run away, but I felt like it would just be better if I was gone. And so I thought about it several times, but I could never do it because I was, like, so afraid. And then I just thought, like, well, what if my kids find me, you know, or I wouldn't want to do it this way. And then it came a time where I was like, you know what, I have to do it now. And that day, sorry. That day that I was going to do it, I waited till everyone fell asleep. My husband wasn't at home. So I waited till my kids were in the bed, and I went in a room. I locked my door. And I wrote a letter. Oh, sorry. And I wrote a letter because I didn't want my husband to feel guilty. I didn't want my husband to feel guilty. I didn't want my children to hate me. So I wrote a letter to everyone. But I remember crying. And I remember God speaking so clearly to me. And I was telling him, like, I just can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I tried. And he said to me very clearly, like, you shall live and not die. And he said it so many times. It was so firm, because when I heard his voice, it was just like, it didn't sink in. It was just like, I can't do it anymore. And I cried and cried. And I was like, I just can't. But the more and more he said it, it took a hold of me. And it made me pause. And I immediately had flashes of my life, images in my head from when I was a kid to like when all of my children were born, my wedding, and like all of the happy moments in my life. It was just like somebody was playing a slideshow of my life, and all of these memories were popping in my mind. And God reminded me that I have so much to live for, and that I had a purpose. His words with me was that I had a purpose. And then I heard my voice, my own voice. I heard my voice, and I was speaking to a crowd of people, and I was talking to them about my life. It was like I was a speaker. It was a speaking engagement. And I remember just speaking. I just hear myself so clearly. And God said, see, you have a purpose. And that you're going to share your story with so many people. And it's going to help them. And of course, I didn't believe that because of where I was in that moment. But I just cried out. And it wasn't instant. It was still hard, because every day from that moment where I said, okay, I'm not going to do it, the ideas never went away. I still was depressed. I still was challenged. I still thought about I was a burden. I still felt like I was alone. I still felt like it was better if I wasn't here. But the decision that I made each day is, I heard those words in my head each day, that I should live and not die, and that I had a purpose. And so I told myself that every day. And I made a decision one day. It was like a New Year's resolution. And I said to myself, I have to choose me in this moment. Because with everything that I shared about my life, is I never chose me. I did everything, whatever I thought people wanted me to be. I allowed people to do certain things to me because I didn't understand that certain things were wrong, or what was happening to me, and that was wrong. I tried to be something because I thought that was how it was supposed to be. A mom, a wife. I felt like it was more important for me to focus on my children, because it would be selfish for me to take care of myself. And I was so wrong, because what good am I to other people if I can't take care of myself? And I struggle with that. And so I made that decision that I had to put myself first. And it was the most challenging thing ever. Each and every day I had to do something. And so one of the first things I did was like, I'm going to lose weight. And that was my first attempt to try to lose weight. As I was working out, I was going to the gym, and it gave me so much power. It gave me so much energy. I felt so good. I haven't felt that way in such a long time. And so I was so in love with it. I was in love with the idea of just reinventing myself. I was in love with how I felt and how I was looking. But that was like my first, jab or fight, or me stepping into the ring and fighting for myself. The second thing that I did was I said, you know what, I'm going to go out there and enjoy life. And I did that as well. And then I sought therapy again. And I have an amazing life coach. And I always say, like, God did this, but she helps me get there, because of that, I have been more than almost a year and a half. I have been depression free. And so I thank God for that. I use that term, depression free. I mean, depression really doesn't go anywhere, but I have not been experiencing any episodes of depression. Like I said, anxiety is still a challenge, but I'm still working on that. And one of the biggest things that I'm working on is just being patient, not just with myself, with everything, and having the attitude and accepting the fact that I can't control everything. But I'm so grateful to God that I came out of that dark place, and I'm able to, I was able to heal. I'm able to talk about certain things that have happened in my life. I have more clarity on certain things. I understand why certain things happen. I was able to forgive people. I am more protective of myself, and not in a negative way, but in a way where I'm not gonna allow, I'm sorry, I like started, but I'm not gonna allow certain people to be in my life if they don't mean me well, if they're not serving me, and I don't mean like catering to my needs, but like if they don't have anything that's going to serve to what I'm trying to do for myself. If it doesn't fit, I'm not going to make it fit. I have met new people. I'm doing things that I've never done. I've been a shy girl all of my life, still am, but I'm like doing this. I'm doing TikToks and things, and just being more open and more free, and more serious about my health and taking more control of my health. And when I had the weight loss surgery, that was just like another boost that I needed. And so here I am today, and I'm talking to you about my road to recovery. I still do therapy. I still have my challenging days, but I am so free. And that is by the grace of God. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for my support system. I celebrate my life, because at one point I wanted to end it all. And I probably wouldn't have been here today with you. But I'm so grateful for life. I'm so grateful for my life. I love me. I appreciate me. I appreciate who I am. And I'm not going to hide that and be ashamed of that anymore. And so I just want to encourage you, if that is you, to keep fighting, to keep pushing, to fight for yourself, to know that you are worth it and you have a purpose. Because here's the thing, not everyone is going to be able to come to help you. There might not be anyone there to save you. You might have to save yourself. And that's what I had to do. I will also say to anyone who knows someone that is experiencing this, I was a high functioning depressing person, or depressant. I wore a mask to cover up what was going on the inside. And the one reason why I did that is because I felt like I didn't have a good support. And that's not to say that you're not supportive. But what I want to say is that a lot of times when people are depressed, they don't want to burden people with what they have, or they might express certain things to let you know. And if you don't catch it, then they feel like it's like, oh, it's not the green light or this is not a safe space. I can't be open with this person. There's also shame attached to it. And so a lot of times we're not going to be open. So let's take away the notion that people who are depressed or people who are struggling with suicide or suicide ideation should reach out to you. That's not always the case. We don't want to tell people what's going on. We don't want to burden people. It's hard. We don't know how to say what's going on with us. So if you see someone that look like they're down and you sense it, you see it, it's in your spirit or it's on your heart, say something. Do not just let that person go and say, you know what, it's in my head. Because 9 out of 10 times, you are not wrong. Help out in any way that you can. No, you're not probably a therapist. But if that person might need you to come sit over at their house with them and watch Netflix, I don't know. Maybe you just need to go on a walk with them. Maybe you need to clean their house or cook for them. Anything that you can do to help them. Allow them to decompress, but still be a support. Don't push yourself on them. Just please don't have this idea like, well, if they need help, then they know how to call me. Because that's just unrealistic. I just want to say that. If it's anything that we've seen with the 2 recent celebrities who have committed suicide, is that no one knew. No one had an inkling. And that's because whatever is going on in their world is just too great, too big, that they don't know. Sometimes they don't want to burden people or know how to ask for help. And so I'm encouraging you to step up in that way. And not just to say check up on your strong friends, but to check up on your loved ones, your friends, your family. Okay. I had some other stuff that I wanted to share about this topic, but I think I've shared a lot. So I encourage you, if you have any questions relating, if there's some more information if you want me to share more on my experience, not just information, but more on my experience, please let me know in the comment section. If you have any questions for me as it relates to my experience, please let me know in the comment section. Again, I'll be doing more videos, but I just really wanted to share this and put this out there and just say that I completely understand. I've been there. If that is you, I'm here for you. I care about you. I want you to know that I love you and that the world needs you. Everyone has a purpose, and you do have a purpose, and your life means something, and that you are not alone. Okay, guys, on that note, I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.